This is American Hope Talk Radio with your host, W.L. Laney. His guests are real people who have overcome real obstacles and are willing to share their experiences with you, bringing hope for the challenges standing in the way of your greater success. Listen while we deal with life as it is today and reveal how hope for the future can bring you more success than you have ever imagined. Now let's get on with today's show.
Welcome to American Hope Talk Radio. I'm your host, W.L. Laney. My guest today is Jon Satin. He is the co-author of Living an Inspired, Empowered, and Joy-Filled Life, 365 Daily Tips to Get You There. Jon, welcome back to the show.
Great to be back, WL.
Well, we're just delighted to have you. And what I'd like to have you do, first of all, if you don't mind, is just tell us your success story.
Well, my success story was an overnight success story that took about 35 years.
That's how most success stories,
yes,
overnight successes go, isn't it?
We are all works in progress, and I was no exception. My story begins, I had a very typical American life. I went to school, I went to college, I got my degrees, I got my advanced degrees, I worked in corporate America, and yet, through all that, I had no real satisfaction or no feeling of fulfillment. And really my success began when I awakened to the fact that if I was going to enjoy the life that I envisioned for myself very early on, I was going to have to take responsibility for that life, and no one else was going to do it for me.
So what emotional barriers did you have to face in order to make these decisions?
I faced a lot of barriers. One was the addiction to struggle. And I talk a lot about struggle, WL, because most of us are conditioned to struggle. We're told very early on, I know I was, I'm a product of struggle. My father was a product of the Great Depression, and he saw my grandparents struggle. And so he believed that we have to work hard, we have to struggle, we've got to make it happen. And life is a challenge, and we have to, pound the pavements and make it all happen. So I grew up with that conditioning, and I believed for a very long time that success required an enormous amount of energy, physical and mental, and a lot of stress and anxiety to go along with it. And then, maybe one day I'll be happy, and maybe one day I'll have what I really want in my life.
So how is it different? I mean, it seems to me like, and maybe I'm still caught up in those old antiquated beliefs that I've got to work hard. It seems like, the harder I work, the luckier I get. What do you say to me about that?
Not true. Not true. Most of my successes and most of the successes of my clients that I've worked with over the last 10 years, most of them have been easy. I like to say I've become an easyologist in my life. Life is easy, life is not meant to be a struggle, and success isn't some destination. Really what I like to talk about today is success as a feeling. And that was really my big breakthrough of my life, that success wasn't this destination, it wasn't going to be the wherewithal for me, it wasn't going to be the big house, it wasn't going to be the trips around the world, it wasn't going to be the 7-figure bank account. All of that is nice, and all of that certainly gives you wonderful options. What I realized was that success had to come from within. It's really centered here in the heart. And when you feel successful, it doesn't matter what you have on the outside. Again, house, money, cars, they're all, relationships, they're all wonderful. It's really a feeling. Success is a feeling. It is not a destination. And that's what Chris, my business partner, and I teach. We teach success as a feeling.
Okay, now, when I feel successful, does that mean I'm going to have more of some of the things that you've mentioned, like the bank accounts and the big house and those things?
Yes, you're actually, what you're doing is you're increasing the likelihood of achieving the results that you want in your life. Because here's what happens. If you come from what I call a struggle mentality or a poverty mindset, in other words, you feel it's hard, and if you believe that there's only a certain amount to go around, a certain amount of money, a certain amount of luck, a certain amount of, the big breaks to go around, you're coming from a lack mentality. And the truth is, there's an enormous, unlimited, infinite amount of opportunities out there for each of us. And I want you to know that we create our own opportunities by changing the way we think.
All right, so I'm driving down the street in my Mercedes convertible, and as I pull up to the stop sign, the gentleman in the next lane looks over at me and says, "Oh, it must be nice." What kind of an attitude is he displaying, and how can we change that?
My response to him would be very simply this: be happy with where you are right now.
Okay, so he's driving a beat up old Chevrolet that's 20 years old, and the bumper is kind of hanging on because it's got the bumper stickers on it from a few elections back. And so you're telling him to be happy with where he is?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because here's what happens: if we, and it's really a very paradoxical concept to grasp, and my intent is that we can talk a lot about this today, is that if you cannot accept where you are, you can't create positive change in your life. Now, I'm not suggesting that you roll over and play dead and just let life roll over you. What I'm suggesting is accept where you are right now. Things may be very tough for you. You may be out of work. You may be in a very poor relationship. You may be down and out. You might have just lost your house. The truth is, the fact is, it's happened. Accept it. Because when we accept what happens is we actually can download opportunities into our mind.
So the first step toward recovery from something like that happening then is a change in attitude to, one, accept where you are and then look at what you have to do to move forward.
Right. And this is really hard for a lot of people, because what happens is a lot of people will say to me, "John, well, you've never been there." Well, the answer is yes, I have been there. Number one. Number two, it's necessary to accept it. Otherwise, you're still focusing on what is.
Okay.
Yes, you're out of that. You're maybe homeless. You may be out of work. You may be struggling financially. Accept it. Because what's required here is a new way of thinking that's going to change the quality of your life in a positive direction.
Okay.
It's like Einstein said, WL, you can't create solutions with the same mind that created the problem.
Right.
And this is exactly what we're talking about.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about that, but I do want to let everyone know that John is offering a 45-minute free coaching session. There are limited time slots available, so be sure and call. You can call John at 215-794-0135, or you can reach him via email, which is coaches2 at Comcast.net. And then also, I want to let everybody know that the things that we are talking about today are very well aligned with the principles I teach in my book, The Self-Administered Attitude Transplant. That is available on Kindle for $2.99, or you can just call today and we will give you a free copy. Just dial 855-WL-LANEY. That's 855-955-2639. You're listening to American Hope Talk Radio. When we come back, John is going to tell us about the fears and failures that he has had to overcome to get to the level of a success he enjoys today. My hope is he did it, so can you. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm your host, W.L. Laney. My guest, Jon Satin, is going to tell you the part no one ever wants to talk about, the things that we perceive as being failures.
No.
Thanks for being with us today, John.
Great to be here. And right off the bat, I will say no such thing as failure.
Very good.
No such thing. Life gives us feedback. It's what we do with it that determines the direction we go in.
Okay, so the only way that anybody is going to fail then is if they refuse to get back up.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell us about some of the things that knocked you down and how you recovered from that, and the lessons that you learned that have contributed more to success.
Well, life, like most of you, gave me a lot of feedback that I ignored for a long, long time. And my big aha moment, or one of many aha moments that I've had over the years, was that if my life was going to change, I was going to have to take responsibility for it. No one was going to do it for me. No one close to me, no family member, no close friends, no boss that I worked for in corporate America or my government. No one was going to do it for me. I had to do it by myself. If I was going to make it happen, it was going to be up to me.
Okay. John, how did you come to that conclusion?
First and foremost, WL, I realized that my mentality, my mindset was one of struggle. And actually, when you have that mindset of struggle, what happened to me is I attracted a lot of struggle in my life. I struggled when I worked in corporate America. I struggled with my professional relationships. For example, I got overlooked and I couldn't understand why for a lot of promotions when I worked in corporate America, in Manhattan, in New York City. And I became a victim about that. And I didn't take responsibility for maybe there was a very good reason why I was overlooked for a promotion. Also, my personal life, why I was attracting the same kind of people over and over again, people who would love me, say they love me, and then leave me. I mean, so in both personally and professionally, I was struggling. And it wasn't until I changed my mind about taking responsibility and realizing that I was in complete control of my destiny in terms of who and what I was attracting into my life. That was really the turning point for me.
All right, let's get into that just a little bit deeper, because everybody struggles, but we don't turn it around as you did by accepting personal responsibility. How do I make that change? What do you say to our listener to, okay, yes, I agree, I'm struggling, but it's really not my fault.
It's no one's fault. It's no one's fault.
So what do I do?
What you do is you stop worrying. Number one, this is really big. Most people spend their lives worrying about what other people are going to think about them.
Okay, so that's the big one, isn't it?
One of the big things for me was giving up worrying about what you think about me. So now I live by the policy, what you think about me is none of my business. I really don't care. What I'm more concerned with is that we have mutual respect for each other. So I got over this whole notion, of a popularity contest, that if I say something or do something, you won't like me. I got over that. As long as I'm respectful of you and you're respectful of me, then we can create mutually beneficial situations and outcomes.
What prompted you to stop worrying about what people think? I mean, our society, we grow up that way. I mean, that's the whole issue of peer pressure and everything else that is causing the struggle. How did you get over that?
What prompted me is, did I want to be right, or did I want to be successful? See, the whole idea was that I believed that my whole future was in the hands of other people. So whether it be a corporate boss or a business client, I was continuously, and this is really significant, this is about really taking your power back. I was always giving my power away to people and circumstances and situations.
Okay, so all right, now I have to just accept this as a step, or is there an aha moment that's going to come in my life that all of a sudden I'm going to wake up and say, hey, it doesn't matter what people think about me?
It's a step. It's a process. Because let's face it, we're all conditioned, to be in a position where we want to be liked. I would love for you to like me, WL. There's no doubt about it.
Well, take me golfing, and I will. And is that the problem? Is we all like conditionally? I like you if you believe the same things I believe. I like you if you go the same places I go. I like you. I mean, I'm real popular in the restaurants because I'm a big tipper.
Right.
The servers like me because I give them money.
Right. We want to be liked, and ultimately we want to be loved. This is what it comes down to. It's really a very deep seated pattern of beliefs that prevent us from creating success in our life. You mentioned earlier, you touched on it briefly, this whole notion about having a particular mindset that I call a prosperity mindset. And a prosperity mindset isn't only about money. It includes money, but not only about money. It's the simplest way to put it is looking at the glass half full rather than looking at it as half empty.
Okay, so I mean, we talk a lot about that. You know, I talk about. In fact, I almost wrote a book one time. You know, just fill the glass. What difference does it make whether it's half empty or half full? Just fill the glass. What do you say about that?
It's a matter of perspective, and that's what Chris and I share with our clients. It's really about a change in perspective. A change in mindset has to coincide with a change on how you look at the world.
Okay.
You know, how do you see the world? The truth is, when you turn on the TV, also to me known as the boob tube, you see a lot of struggle. You see a lot of people being victimized. You see a lot of people who are profiting through greed. Now, you and I know that most of us do not want to live our lives that way.
Right.
We want to thrive. We want to legitimately thrive and prosper. Yet we are conditioned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to believe if I'm going to make it in America, this is how I have to be. And we're conditioned to actually believe that.
Okay.
And the truth is, if you truly want to be happy in the end, and not even wait till the end, if you truly want to be happy now, you have to give up that line of thinking, that kind of a mindset that says, life is hard, I have to look out for number one, I'm number one, and what happens to you is unimportant to me.
Okay, I just saw an article online yesterday, I believe it was, and I'm just going to throw this out at you, get your opinion. It was quite a lengthy article, and I held it up to Phil and I said, here is the whiners list. And basically what he was saying in this article is that the ills and the problems that our company or our country is facing is because of the rich people. They're making too much money. The middle class is being squeezed out. Okay. Now, I personally don't think that you being successful is going to squeeze out my success. So if you want to be rich, go for it. Show me the way and I can follow along behind you. I don't think it's necessary for me to blame you. Okay. Now, is this an attitude problem that we are facing in the country, thinking that if somebody else succeeds, it's going to detract from us and keep us from succeeding?
Absolutely. And that's the opposite mindset that I teach. That's a poverty mindset. In other words, there's not enough to go around. I mean, the truth is, there was a study done once that if we took all of the money in the world, physical paper and electronically, and we doled it out to all 7 billion of us, we'd each be millionaires. So there's plenty to go around. There's no lack for cash.
I also saw, I don't know if it was a study or somebody was just saying it, if we took all the money and divided it up equally among everybody on the planet, that it wouldn't be a very short time before it would be back in the hands of the people who are holding it now.
Exactly. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about consciousness. Poverty consciousness or prosperity consciousness.
Okay, so the people that have the money today have it because they have the right attitudes. The people that are lacking have the wrong attitude.
It's not an attitude, it's a belief system. It's a self-limiting belief system. And one of the first things I would ask you if you're struggling is, do you believe you deserve to be prosperous? Do you believe you deserve financial security? Do you believe that you deserve to live in a beautiful house? Do you believe that you deserve to have a wonderful relationship with someone and spend the rest of your life with that person? Okay, do you believe you should be traveling first class?
Right. I want to talk a lot more about that belief system and how we change it. But before we get to that, tell me just a little bit about your coaching sessions. If I was to call and ask for the free 45-minute coaching session, how would you get it started? What would you cover first?
Well, the first thing that I ask you is, what are the challenges that you're facing? And then once you lined up all your challenges, maybe a long list for some, maybe short for you, I would ask, why do you feel that you're in this position right now? What brought on these challenges? And then essentially what I'm going to do with you is walk you through and create some awareness. Really what I focus on is, we look at the challenges, but really what we want to look at is focusing on solutions for those challenges. And typically what we do is we create awareness on the kind of mindset that you may have and the kind of beliefs and habits that you may be used to that are blocking you from enjoying the life that you were intended to enjoy.
Okay, so by asking me about my challenges, then that is going to reveal the attitudes or the belief that I have, and then once you recognize that, then you can begin to work with me and help me. Is that correct?
Exactly. And what I'm going to show you how to do it is to take responsibility for your life.
All right, you're listening to American Hope Talk Radio. When we come back, we'll find out how can we take personal responsibility for our lives and see the changes that we all wish to have. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to American Hope Talk Radio. My guest today is Jon Satin, and I want to remind you that he is offering a 45-minute free coaching session. Jon, what is that worth if I were going to just buy it?
$150.
So you're giving away $150. Actually, it's going to be a whole lot more than that, because one of the things about having a coach is that you have somebody on the outside looking in to help you see the changes, see the things that you need to work on, and that's a huge value. I mean, you can call in at 855-WL Laney. You can get a free copy of my book, The Self-Administered Attitude Transplant. But I can guarantee you, if you will take advantage of Jon's offer and take that 45-minute free coaching, it's going to do more for you and help you much faster. Would you agree with that, Jon?
I would agree.
Of course you would. It's you're the one that's doing the coaching. But isn't that true? Sometimes we really do need that person from the outside looking in and saying, have you considered this?
Absolutely. And I also like to say, it's in my case, it's someone who's been there. I've been through the challenges. I've been through the struggles. I've been through the so-called tragedies of life. So I certainly understand, and with that said, there's tremendous relatability. So
okay, give me an example. Give me an example, Jon. What's the worst thing that has happened to you?
The worst thing that happened. Well, it's a matter of perspective. What's happened to me? Probably, I was at one point in my life, I was so down and out that I had to go on food stamps.
Okay.
So, I mean, financially, I was really down and out.
All right, and I think that's important for everybody to understand. I mean, I bare my soul when I'm on other people's talk shows and they're asking about what I've done in the past and how I've been successful. I start out with, all right, this was the low point. I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost everything that I had, and this is how I came back. And I think that's important for people to understand, that we don't all have this, hey, I was born, my parents took wonderful care of me, I went to the best schools, I went to the best college, I got the best job, I now have the best house, I drive the best car. Life is wonderful. And if you'll follow these 3 easy steps, you can be that way too. Life doesn't work that way, does it?
It doesn't work that way. And I know a lot of people that followed that path, and they still don't feel successful, interestingly enough.
Okay, so it's more, is it an awareness, or is it the fact that we have overcome the obstacle that gives us that sense of well-being?
Well, it's twofold. It's realizing first that you may very well have a set of self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back. And second is the realization, and this may be a toughie to swallow today as we talk about this, realize that within you, and that's everyone, is a genius. We are each geniuses. The challenge we face over a lifetime is we're not aware of that, the presence of that genius, and we don't have the opportunity to tap into that genius. So really what I do in coaching is I assist people to tap into the genius that they are.
Now, when you talk about genius, are you talking about IQ or are you talking about a belief system?
A belief system.
Okay, that's good.
We're all given the same mind. You know, this is not about education. This is not about going to school and memorizing facts and figures. This is about a mindset that when one looks in the mirror, they see something pretty wonderful. And that's the challenge that we face in our world, is that people are looking in the mirror, WL, and they're perhaps seeing something hideous right now and they're not happy. That's not what's intended in the human experience. The human experience is to look in the mirror and see brightness in the eyes, see the capacity to create anything that your heart desires. And that's what I help people achieve, is that kind of a mindset.
Okay, so now we've talked about the mindset, and you refer to it as the beliefs. I talk a lot about attitude and having an attitude transplant to get rid of the attitude of fear and replace it with an attitude of self-confidence. So I think we're pretty much on the same page, maybe using a little different terminology. But would you say that one of the problems that we face is that too many of us are willing to accept a mediocre existence?
Absolutely. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say to me, well, I just have to accept this is just the way it is. You know, and that's it.
Okay, so you don't have to accept it.
Not at all. Not at all. My question is, why do you believe that you have to accept it?
Right.
And that's where responsibility comes in.
Okay.
See, most people are facing challenges for the simple fact that they're not willing to take responsibility for their life and their future.
Okay, so let me see if I caught what you said. If I'm living this mediocre existence and I am saying that that's just the way it is, that's just the way I am, you are saying that if I will accept responsibility, that we can make the change. And when you talk about accepting responsibility, what you're saying is I have to admit that I don't have to live the mediocre existence. I don't have to leave things status quo or as they are.
Right. Exactly. And you also have to want to change.
Okay.
See, there are a lot of people out there that, you know, and I know people in some dire situations and dire straits and having some real life challenges. There's no doubt. I meet them every day. However, you have to want to make the changes that are going to create positive results for you.
Well, they want the results. I mean, that's why the lottery is so popular, isn't it? People want to be a millionaire. They want to be a multimillionaire, so they play the lottery. Is there a better way?
Yeah, well, there are better odds, absolutely. And one is making a conscious decision of the kind of life that you want.
Okay,
so what happens is, you know, if you're saying this is just the way it is, what are you doing? You're just putting out there that yesterday and today are going to be the same, and so is tomorrow. So you're going to get the same old of what you got yesterday and today.
Okay, so the power of change begins with a decision.
You are one decision away from changing the quality of your life in any given moment.
And if I make no decision to change for the better, I'm deciding to stay the same.
You are.
Okay. How do I change my beliefs? You've talked about it, and I really want to get into this in a little more depth with you. How do I change what I believe?
Well, this may sound like a monumental task. One of the things that Chris and I do with our clients, and we do in our workshops and classes, is we do an exercise which is called questioning every single belief you have. And we actually give people an assignment to question every belief you have. We look at core beliefs. In other words, the beliefs that you have when you look in the mirror, the beliefs that come into your mind first thing in the morning when you open your eyes and you're not even out of bed yet. What are the beliefs? What are the beliefs that you have during the day? We suggest to people to become consciously aware of their thoughts, because we have 60,000 thoughts in any given day, and most of the thoughts that you are having today are the same ones you had yesterday. And if you are not consciously aware of the thoughts you have today, they will be the same thoughts you have tomorrow.
Okay, so how do I change those beliefs, those thoughts? What do I do?
One of the big things we do is we have people write down a list of their negative thoughts, their core negative thoughts, and we replace them with positive thoughts.
Okay, so give me an example of negative thoughts.
One negative thought is I'm not smart enough.
Okay, and
replace that with I'm highly intelligent and I have the wisdom and capability to achieve anything I want in my life.
Okay, is that mind over matter? Is that just coming up with some kind of a mantra
in the beginning,
I'm going to repeat?
In the beginning, yes. In the beginning. And then essentially the truth is it does go deeper, because there are a lot of emotions that are connected to these beliefs.
Okay.
So in other words, if you have a certain belief, it's typically tied to experiences that you had, typically to experiences that you had at a very early age.
Okay. Now, here's one of the things that I teach in the book, The Self-Administered Attitude Transplant. Let me get your feedback as far as how you feel. Okay. We act not based on what we know, but we act based on what we believe. And what we believe is resident in our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind, those beliefs are all based on, as you say, the things that we went through as children, what our parents taught us, what our teachers taught us, what the bully on the playground taught us. All of those things became our belief system. So
Correct.
In order to change that, I believe you need to feed yourself positive, inspirational, motivational material, stories. Well, I think that listening to this program can be a help to people, because they can see that there is hope. And if they begin to see that and they begin to put that into their subconscious, then they will begin to have hope. Once you begin to have hope, that's going to lead to faith. Faith or belief is going to lead you to making a positive step, and that positive step is going to yield positive results. Positive results then in turn are going to have the impact on hope, and your hope will build. So it becomes a success cycle.
Exactly.
Okay, so exactly. Is that what you teach people in your coaching sessions to?
Very much so.
Okay,
very much so.
Feed their subconscious with the positive.
Right, right. And it's also a letting go, because most of if you are struggling, most of the decisions you are making are rooted in the past and past experiences. So I am very big, Chris and I are very big on letting go of the past. I have totally let go of my past. I keep with me all the positive memories, but the rest of it, it's over and done with.
You're listening to American Hope Talk Radio. I'm your host, W.L. Laney. Jon Satin is my guest, and when we come back, you're going to get the final steps in moving yourself to a more positive and a satisfying, a happy, self-fulfilled life. We'll be right back. Welcome back to American Hope Talk Radio. Jon has promised to tell us the most important step in making a positive change in our lives. Jon, just before you do that, let me ask this question. How important is action?
Action is important. What's more important is inspired action.
Describe the difference.
Difference is inspired action is when you have a prosperity mindset, when you have thoughts of achieving, thoughts that feel good about yourself and your world, and You also speak in a language that exemplifies a prosperity mindset.
Okay, so what is a prosperity mindset? What do you mean by that?
Prosperity mindset is a mindset that realizes that there's an infinite amount of capacity to achieve in your life. That there's nothing or no one that can prevent you from being, doing, and having everything that you want in your life.
Okay, now at the start of the show, you were telling us that I need to have the right feeling about where I am today. Okay.
Emotions are very important because emotions will dictate the direction your life goes in.
Okay.
So if you're struggling, that's a really low energy emotion. If you feel like you're always being victimized, that's a low energy emotion.
Okay, so and then I'm going to turn that around by changing the way I view things. I'm going to change how I feel about things.
Yes.
And what I believe.
Here's the one thing you can do right now is write a new story for your life. I'm really big on changing your story to change your life.
Okay, now when you say write the story, are you telling me that what I need to do is sit down and write out what I would like my life to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Put it on paper, script it out, every detail, every item, your financial situation, your relationship situation, your career situation, your health situation. Put it down on paper.
Okay.
Make it what I call it's almost like creating your life story. And if you handed it over to someone, here's the life that I lived. Because putting it on paper is so powerful, WL. I know as a writer, and you're a writer also, it's an incredibly powerful exercise when we put the pen to the paper, when we write down our feelings and what we want from life.
Okay. One of the things that I like to ask people is, will your life inspire other people in any way? What are you doing that is going to be an inspiration? So the old couple in their 70s walking down the street holding hands because they have this great relationship, is that going to be an inspiration to younger couples? I think yes.
I believe it would.
What are you doing today? What is your life today that is inspiring people to move forward?
Right. And what you're hitting on is really an essential component to creating positive change in your life. If you're feeling down, my big suggestion to you is go help someone else.
Okay.
Because I guarantee you there's someone else that is worse off than you are.
Oh, undoubtedly. I tell my story sometimes, and then I hear other people's stories, and hey, John, my life was a piece of cake.
Right.
My stepfather was an abusive alcoholic that beat me every day. That was a piece of cake compared to what a lot of people are facing and have faced and been able to overcome that. One of our
Absolutely.
guests a little while back, Susan Armstrong, beaten nearly to death, shot, and she recovered from being this alcoholic, drug addict, running with the biker gang, and today is a happily married mother, wife, and international speaker, but she overcame all of those things.
Right. And for that example, that's why Chris and I chose the title, The Possibility Coaches, because I truly believe that in life, anything is possible. Absolutely. We can transform ourselves on a dime if we choose to.
And I can't agree more. I guess the biggest challenge is how do I understand that I really can be more than what I am today? We did a survey a while back, a totally unscientific survey on whether people had a positive attitude or not. Everybody had a positive attitude. Even some of the most negative people I've ever met in my life, they believed they had a positive attitude. So if I believe I'm okay, and yet I'm not achieving my full potential, how do I accept that responsibility to make change if I don't see a change is necessary?
Well, one of the things that I suggest is you first of all take one day at a time. So often I've worked with clients that they want to see this transformation, in 3 seconds or less. The realization is that you've come this far, and no matter what your age is, you may be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of age, you have a lot of conditioning. And so it's almost like I create the picture of, it's like, those knots, if you ever go boating and you're at the marina and the boats are in the moorings, and there's this big knot that, is in the rope that keeps the boats in the marina. That's what your life is, and that's what your beliefs are like. And if they're negative self-limiting beliefs, do you ever try to pull that knot out? It's like really, really, really hard. So what you begin to do is you begin to, one thread at a time, begin to break apart that knot. And that's what the mindset is. You're tearing apart a lifetime of conditioning, this solid mass. And it is possible. And you do it one day at a time.
Okay.
You begin by making the decision that you want a positive transformation in your life.
Okay, so making the decision is first. And I want to remind all of our listeners that Jon has graciously offered a free 45-minute coaching session, and those are limited. So
Yes.
the first come, first served, I guess we can say.
Mm-hmm.
You can reach Jon at coaches@comcast.net, or the phone number is 215-794-0135. Jon, I think it's a wonderful gesture on your part to offer these coaching sessions free. Tell me a little bit more about the duration. Let's just say I'm really screwed up, and I've had a lousy life. I've lost my job. I've lost my home. I need help, and I'm going to come to you, and I get my free coaching session.
Mm-hmm.
And you've already said it's not a instant fix.
No.
How long is it going to take you to get me straightened out?
That depends on your willingness.
So the more willing I am, the quicker I can do it, the less money it's going to cost me to make the change.
Right. Essentially, the more open you are to receiving life's goodness and life's bounty, the faster it will happen.
Okay. Now, do you give homework assignments?
I do.
And
do.
what do those consist of?
Well, I gave you one example a moment ago about writing a new story. So everyone from this point forward can write a new story today.
Okay. So first, I'm going to question all of my current beliefs, and then I'm going to write my new story. I'm going to write my life out as I want it to be.
Exactly.
Okay. And then what's my next step?
Your next step is to read that story first thing in the morning when you get up. Carry it with you all day long. Read it whenever you have the opportunity and are capable of reading it. And most importantly, read it before you close your eyes and put your head on the pillow at night.
Okay, so it's going to be a short story, but very much to the point.
Very much to the point.
Okay.
Be as clear as possible as you can with the facts of the story.
Okay. How am I going to determine that I'm writing something that is going to be a positive help rather than just sitting down and writing up a Christmas wish list? Santa, bring me all these things.
Well, it's not a wish list, and I'm glad you brought that point up, WL. What's essential in the reading of this story is that you emotionalize it. You see, for so long you've probably been emotionalizing a story that has a lot of sad endings to it. So now what I'm suggesting to you is that you're writing a story with a really upbeat, happy ending, and you're going to start to emotionalize that. So this is where it gets tough for people, because the truth of the matter is, and I said this at the onset of the show, the first of the show, is that the greatest addiction that we have as a society is we are addicted to struggle.
Yes. You're listening to American Hope Talk Radio. I want to thank our guest, Jon, for being with us today and offering the 45-minute coaching session. You can also get my book, A Self-Administered Attitude Transplant, by calling toll-free 855-WL-Laney. Remember, if you have hope, anything is possible.
Absolutely.
You have been listening to American Hope Talk Radio with W.L. Laney. Questions and comments can be emailed to wl@wllaney.com. Go to www.wllaney.com for more programs like the one you heard today.